So come to your back and just at the beginning here, just allow yourself to settle in, feel the heaviness of your bones on the earth without changing anything or fixing anything. And then just take a scan through, starting with your feet. Maybe one foot falls out more than the other, which can be related to our hips. And of course, the hips and the legs are going to be related to standing postures and standing in general. So if it's true that one foot falls out more than the other, can you find the center of your heels and place the center of your heels on the floor? So toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. Now your legs should be more in a Tadasana shape. And then just bring a little engagement to your legs. Let your hands rest alongside your body, palms up. Tuck your shoulder blades underneath and press slightly on the back of your hands. So there's a little engagement in the arms, a little engagement in the core, and then slight pressure on the back of your head as you tuck your chin in slightly, like you're making the double chin. So now the whole body against the floor should feel like the Tadasana shape, mountain pose. Now, without losing the shape, just soften the engagement. Soften the engagement without losing the shape. And then completely soften your hands. You might even turn the palms down, or you could rest belly and chest, and then press through one heel and the other heel. So you check in with your hips. So the up slip, down slip as you press through one heel, press through the opposite heel. Keep your toes pointed up towards the ceiling. And then as you continue to do this, reach with the same arm. So the back of your hands on the floor. So as you press through your left heel, reach down towards your left foot and slide your hand down. Then relax, reach through the right heel and slide the right hand down. Great, then relax the hands, relax the feet slightly, but still keep the toes pointed up towards the ceiling, and then lift the right sit bone, right, that hip pointer in the front of your hip here, the front of your hip, reach your hip pointer up towards the ceiling, and then back down, and then reach the left hip pointer up towards the ceiling, and back down. We call it shearing. So shear right hip, left hip. Let's move back and forth here. And then after you've done 2 or 3 times on each side, just relax, slide your feet up to soles of the feet on the floor so you're in position of comfort. And now with feet nice and wide, just let your knees move back and forth in the windshield wiper motion. So inhaling up and exhaling to one side. And now as you exhale, draw your navel up and in. So you're coordinating some engagement in the core as you move back and forth. So all of life requires some core engagement, but standing postures really require the pelvic floor, the lower abdomen, and the sort of the middle of our abdomen. It really needs to be engaged for good, strong standing postures. Standing postures are a lot about confidence, security. Right. So they just come back to center, and now a few pelvic tilts. So on your inhale, you'll reach the pelvis away, so forward tilt, and on the exhale, press down into the floor with your low back and gather your pelvic floor. So gather everything up. So inhale, tilt the pelvis away or forward, and on the exhale, tilt back, pressing your low back into the floor, and gather your pelvic floor up and in, and then the navel up and in as well. And just a few rounds like that. And then from here, we'll stack knees over hips. Knees over hips, lower legs parallel to one another and parallel to the floor, and interlace your hands behind your head. So just a few yogi crunches. So inhale, the pelvis can move forward and the low back away from the floor. And on the exhale, press the low back into the floor, bring elbows towards one another and lift head and shoulders. And inhale back down. And exhale, lift, bring elbows towards one another. And then if you can think about it, and every time you exhale, also gather your pelvic floor up and in. So anywhere from 8 to 20 of these. I haven't forgotten about you. Just keep going. And the last time you exhale and come up, release your hands from behind your head, but keep the engagement in your core. Keep your head and shoulders lifted. And then just tap right hand to the outside of the left leg, left hand to the outside of the right leg, back and forth a few times. You're not holding your breath here, but you've got good engagement, navel up and in, pelvic floor drawn in. And slowly release back down to the floor. Set the soles of your feet to the floor. And then reach your legs long. Find that Tadasana shape again. So toes up towards ceiling, engagement in the legs. Press the back of your hands into the floor. Press the back of your head into the floor. Feel a little engagement in your core. Great. Then from here, we'll roll onto one side. You can extend your arm long and roll onto the extended, rest your head onto the extended arm and the other hand out in front of you for a little bit of balance. And then just lift the top leg 4 to 6 inches off the floor, from the other leg. Top leg lifted. Yep, you know where we're going here. Then top arm lifted. Draw the bottom waist up. Bottom waistline, draw that up. So balancing here. And then you could bring the top leg up. Maybe the hand and foot can come together. If not, it's fine. Just try to keep everything in a nice straight line as you balance here. So body like an arrow in a straight line. So your hips aren't pushed back. You're not in a jackknife position. And then you can slowly lower. Feet come together, hand for balance. Roll over to the other side. Find a nice straight line in your body first. And then lift the top leg. Lift the top arm. Draw the low waist up. And then you can lift the top leg in the amount. Maybe the hand and the foot can come together. Maybe not. Feel shaky, that's fine. That's just your body responding to the need. And then you can drop the top leg back down, feet together, arms down, and roll to your belly. Come into Sphinx with elbows under shoulders. Draw your navel up and in. Press into your forearms. Press into the tops of your feet. And then slide your hands underneath your shoulders, come up onto hands and knees, and into table. Take a couple rounds of cat-cow. Next time you land in cow, wait for us there. And then turn toes under, and on the exhale, press hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale back to cow. And exhale, round, take hips back towards heels, child's pose. Inhale, cow. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, cow. Exhale, child's pose. Just a few more of these, or if you're at a little faster pace, that's fine. Just a little warm up for our spine and hips. So we go cow, downward dog, cow, child's pose. We're going to meet in child's pose. And then bring your arms back alongside your body so you're in full balasana. And feel for just a melting of your back body. Relaxing the back body open. Then bring your hands forward. Slide forward again into Sphinx. Draw your navel up and in. Tops of the feet press into the floor, forearms into the floor. Right, and then roll onto one side again. You can either rest your head on your hand or on your outstretched arm. Bring your knees together, stacking knees together, and make sure that your sacrum is lined up with the back of your head, so that that's in one line, sacrum with the back of the head. And keep the knees, don't bring them out quite to parallel. We'll warm up the hips a bit with some clamshells. So feet stacked on one another, and just open the top leg, bring it down towards the bottom leg, but not touching. So repeat that anywhere again from 8 to 20 rounds. warming up the outer hip for standing postures. You can change this. If you want it to be just a little bit more fierce, you could extend the top leg and sweep up and down with the foot as if you were erasing a chalkboard or a whiteboard. The lever is longer now, so there's a little bit more work in the hip. And wherever you are, next time you have your knee raised, hold that until you feel a little bit of shakiness. And then release the top leg to your top hand and just open the front of the leg slightly here. Okay, then we'll go to the other side. And again, line up the back of your skull with your sacrum. So you're in a nice line. Knees come together, not at 90 degrees out, but really keep that a little bit of a more obtuse angle. Feet together, and then lifting the top knee, setting the leg back down towards together, but don't let them touch. Then maybe there's an awareness here of one side being a little stronger than the other. Again, you could take this top leg and straighten it out and work with a longer lever. And after an appropriate number of repetitions for you, you're going to hold the leg either straight or bent with feet stacked. You're going to hold that in place and feel the quiver in your outer hip. And then release the top leg to your top hand and do a bit of a quad stretch here. Once you release that, you can roll back onto your belly. But now keep the knees bent. And you could stay in Sphinx. I think it'll be a little more comfortable to come down to your hands, stacked hands, but just so you can hear me, I'll keep my head up. But you could rest your forehead on your hands. So really draw your pubic bone down towards the floor, lengthen through your back, so navel up and in, and then press right sole of the foot up towards the ceiling, left sole of the foot up towards the ceiling. So try to go straight up with your feet, engaging hamstrings. Go back and forth. Sometimes, if there's a lot of pinching or pain in your low back, you really want to press your pubic bone down towards the floor and draw navel up and in. And if it's too much or too painful, just don't do this part. You could take your legs long to the floor and just do a little easy back arching. We're just trying to get the hamstrings on board here before we come up to stand. Good. And then after you've done an even number, slide your hands underneath your shoulders. Press yourself back up to table. And do a few more rounds of that same vinyasa where we come cow to downward facing dog, to cow, to child's pose. A few rounds with that. We're going to meet in downward facing dog. In your downward facing dog, bend through your knees. Enter your tilt to the pelvis. Then re-straighten the legs. So the sit bones are the apex of the posture. Your back body is nice and long. Walk your feet towards your hands towards your feet. Bend through your knees deeply. Drop heels to the floor, reach hands forward in a modified chair pose. And as you press your hands down on an exhale, stand up to standing. Find Tadasana here. Feet underneath hips, palms are forward. Bring the ears back over the shoulders so there's a little tucking in of your chin, like your double chin. So it should feel similar to what we did on the floor. All right. So ears are stacked over shoulders, shoulders over hips, hips over knees, knees over ankles. And then as you inhale the next time, bend through your knees and reach your arms up. And then exhale, just press the hands down like you're coming through water and stand back up. Or straighten the legs back up. Tadasana. Inhale, sweep arms up, bend knees. Exhale, press hands down, straighten legs. Do a few rounds just like that. You can go as deep as you want here. And then the next time you come to standing, so back to Tadasana, reach the right foot forward, step the left foot back, and come into Warrior Two legs. So pressing into the back foot and bending through the front knee, find your Warrior Two legs. Reach the front hand forward, come onto your front thigh with your front forearm, and come into extended side angle. Inhale, sweep the top arm up and windmill back up into Warrior Two. Reach through the back hand, press into the back foot, and straighten the front leg, turning both feet, hands to hips, fold forward. You could have a block here or hands to the floor. Line your hips up with your heels, so you're not too far forward. Then bending through your knees deeply, press yourself back up. Turn the left foot out now, right heel out. Find Warrior Two on this other side. Pressing into the back heel, bending the front knee, coming a little deeper into that hip. Reach the front hand and drop into extended side angle on this side. Press your forearm into your thigh, keeping the shoulder, the front shoulder, from creeping up into your ear. And inhale, windmill the top hand up and bottom. Reach through the back arm, find a nice vertical upper body in your Warrior Two. Inhale, turn both feet parallel, press hands up together. Exhale through heart center, fold again. Now this time, walk your hands over towards your right foot. As you turn your right foot, turn your back heel out. And so you're in the legs are triangle legs, but you are beginning this triangle from the floor. So hands are framing the front foot, which is my right foot. If you have your block here, you want to place that to the outside of your front lower leg. Take your right hand to the block, left hand to your hip. Feel the work of the front leg. You could take your left hand even under your hamstring here and really externally rotate the thigh. So bring your hand from the outside to inside. And then bring your left hand to your hip. Sweep your belly open towards me. And reach the top arm up, triangle. Back of the neck stays long, so you could either look down at your front foot or just forward. But I would not recommend looking to the top hand. Bend to your front knee and bring your hands back down around the front foot. Walk your hands back in front of your body, turn both feet to face parallel. And you're gonna have to reach behind and reposition your blocks. We're going to the other side. Walk your hands over to your left foot now, turn your left foot forward and your right heel out. Find your Trikonasana legs. Then with left hand on the block, right hand on your hip, or you can find that external rotation. Open the body first, then you can stack your arms in triangle. So we just entered into this pose from the floor, a different way of entering into the posture. Again, keep the back of your neck long. Really, I like just to look straight ahead here, thinking about the back of my skull lined up with my sacrum. I'm going to turn my gaze back down to the front foot, frame that foot with my hands, turning both feet as I walk my hands. Shift your block again. Unless you have two blocks, in that case you can have one at each foot. Come back to the center. Turn your right foot back, left heel out. Bring your hand to your block, right hand to your block. Come back into Trikonasana. We're going to move from Trikonasana into Ardha Chandrasana. So you have your hand on the block, the outside of your lower leg. Bring your left hand back to your hip now. Bending through the front knee, you can scoot your back foot up about to the middle of your mat. Then move your front block up in front of the right foot and out to the outside. And lift your back leg as you straighten the front leg in Ardha Chandrasana. Now Ardha Chandrasana, the same shape as Supta Pada Uttanasana, what we did on the floor. Did we do that on the floor? Maybe we didn't. Well, here we go. So, pressing hand into block, feel the rebound from the earth. Top leg lifted, top arm resting on your hip. And you could go for stacking the arms here as well. Back of the neck long. Come out, bring our top hand back to the hip, bend through the front standing leg, set the back foot back down. Good. And then turn and frame your front foot. Walk your feet again. If you have two blocks, you have the other one over on the other side. If not, you'll have to shift your block. Walk your feet, your hands around. Open up your stance. So you're in a forward fold. And then we'll turn left foot out, right heel out. Find Trikonasana on this side. Keep your top hand on your hip. So to come into Ardha Chandrasana, we're going to look at the front foot, maybe bend through that knee slightly, and take the back foot about halfway to the front or somewhere in the middle of our mat. Shift the block forward. Then as we straighten the front leg, we lift the back leg. Now the outer hips are really working here. Back leg lifted. Leg nice and straight. You can stack the arms. And think about pressing the back foot, the one that's in the air, think about pressing that into an imaginary wall. Great. Really feel the strength of this posture, really working the outer hips. So we come out, we just bend through the front leg, set the back foot down somewhere in the middle of your mat. You can frame the front foot, walk your hands forward, turn both feet, open up your stance, and take a fold here. You could rest your head on the block, you could do headstand, hands to the mat is fine. Keep the hips lined up with the heels so you're not bending forward. And then from here, we'll heel toe the feet together. Bigger than hip distance, bend through the knees. Press your arms forward so you're in a really wide chair stance. And then press the hands down as you extend your legs and stand up to stand up. Good. And then walk around your space, shake out your legs, take some circles through your hips. And Vrksasana is next. Tree pose. Lots of choices here. You could use a wall space. You could use a block to stand on or be on the floor. Let's take the weight into one foot. I'm going to use a block today. I'm going to place my weight into that foot as I come up and hover the other foot beside. I really feel what my legs are doing. I like the block for that reason. So you could just be right here. You could rest the free leg onto the standing leg, just on top of the foot, or against the calf, or into the groin. Pressing foot into thigh, thigh back into foot. It's always an option to use a wall. If you fall out, you can start over. It's all good. Maybe you want to do something different. Another nice thing to check on is to take your hands to your hips and see that the hips are level. Generally, if the hips are not level, if you bring the bent leg forward some, you can level your hips out. Good. Then we'll go to the other side. If you're using a block, take your full weight to the block and really feel the standing leg engage as you pull that outer hip in, and then float the other foot beside. This might be where you stay. Resting foot on the foot, into the calf. A little tricky to get it up into the groin once you're on the block, but here we go. Now, if you're finding yourself shaky, what might it be like to really engage the pelvic floor Engage the navel. Take one more round of breath here. On your that last exhale, really let everything release. Tension in the body. Stepping out of the posture, coming back to Tadasana. Inhale, arms up, and exhale. Bending the knees, fold through center, hands to the mat, step back to the downward facing dog. Bending through your knees deeply so you can really get that interior tilt of the pelvis, and then re-straightening the legs. Inhale, come to cow. Exhale, round and come back to the child's pose. Inhale, back to cow. Exhale, turn toes under. Now keep that little tilt in the pelvis. That's going to help your alignment in the downward dog as you come up into downward dog. Couple more rounds. Inhaling, the knees drop, you come to cow. Exhale, now we round the back. And bring hips back to child's pose. Inhale to cow. Keep that tilt in the pelvis as you turn toes under, press hips up and back, downward facing dog. Walk feet towards hands, bending deeply through the knees. Inhale, reach arms out in front in a chair pose. Exhale, press your hands down like you're going through water as you stand up, Tadasana. Take your time, find your center, find your breath, and then step your right foot forward and your left foot back, warrior one legs. Press into the back heel as you bend through the front leg. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, pitch forward as you straighten your front leg and come into pyramid. Hands could be on your hips or behind your back, interlaced, or you take opposite wrist with opposite hand. And then as you inhale, bend through your front knee again, press into the back heel, reach arms up, warrior one. This time as you exhale, you'll pitch forward, but instead of coming to pyramid, balance on that front leg and sweep the back leg up to a standing four. Hands to hips, take a few breaths here. Really standing legs working really hard to pull that outer hip in. Okay, pay attention here. Now we're going to drive we've got one leg lifted. We're going to drive our hips back, kind of bend over like Karate Kid, right? Drive the hips back and step that foot back and come into warrior one legs. Inhale to reach the arms up, and exhale, hands down around the front foot. Sweep that foot back, downward facing dog. Inhale to cow. Exhale, round, come back, child's pose. And back to cow on the inhale. Keep that tilt, forward tilt in your pelvis as you turn toes under. Exhale up to downward facing dog. Walk your feet towards your hands. Big deep bend in the knees as you inhale, come in to a chair pose with the arms out in front. Exhale, press through your hands and stand up. Tadasana. If you're a little dizzy, just take your time. And then left foot forward, right foot back. Vira Tadasana one on this side. As you press through the back heel, bend through the front knee, find a strong Vera 1 stance. Inhale, reach the arms up. On the exhale, you're going to tilt forward, straighten through the front leg. If you need to shorten your stance, go ahead and do that. And then bow into pyramid with your hands at your sacrum, your hips, interlaced, or opposite hand, opposite wrist. Then as you inhale, press into the back foot. You might have to open your stance again. Press into the back foot as you bend through the front leg and reach the arms up. All happens together. Keep some engagement in your core. Keep that the pelvic floor lifted. On the next exhale, we're going to bend forward again, hinge forward, but now we're sweeping the hands back as we bring the back leg up. We find ourselves in a balance. Standing leg, that hip, draw that hip in. What would it feel like to reach fingertips down towards the floor? Okay, now we drop the hips slightly and scoot back like we're Karate Kid. And we reach the back foot back, bend the front knee, come back into Warrior 1. Let's take one more round of breath here on the inhale. Feel the fingertips pulling towards the ceiling. And on the exhale, bring your hands down around your front foot. Release that foot to the back, downward facing dog. Inhale, drop your knees, come to cow. Exhale, round and press your hips back to child's pose. Take that same vinyasa just a couple of times. We'll meet your downward facing dog. Here, walk hands towards feet, feet towards hands. And now more of the feet underneath the hips. As you set your hips back, slide your hands back, almost either even with the feet or a little bit behind. You can see if you can get your hands back by your heels. And then reach your hands forward, chair pose. Draw the knees towards each other isometrically as if you were squeezing a block. Then press hands through the imaginary water as you stand up. Ooh, take your time if you got a little dizzy. I did on that. Turn palms forward. Press firmly through all four corners of your feet. Draw your ears back over your shoulders. Tadasana. Good. Now let's make the stance a little wider. Bring your hands behind your head. Inhale here, and on your exhale, extend your arms to the right, hips to the left in a lateral bend. Inhale back to center, hands behind your head. Exhale, press through your interlaced fingers. So palms pressing away to the left, hips to the right. And then just go back and forth a few times with this. Once you've done an even number, come back to the center. And now widen your stance a bit more. And then on your next inhale, release a long, slow exhale. Inhale, bend through your knees. Reach your palms up towards the ceiling. Pick your heels up. Then exhale, let your hands come down, 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 down as you straighten your legs and drop your heels. Take your hands back behind your head. Inhale is going to be bending the knees, releasing the hands up, pressing the hands up, and bringing the heels off the floor. Exhale. Everything comes down to a wide-legged Tadasana. Okay, let's try that a couple times. So start with your hands behind your head, and you press the hands up, bend through the knees, lift the heels. That's the inhale. Exhale. If the breath doesn't work for you in that direction, just do it in the opposite direction. So this is the exhale, and this is the inhale. But in any case, just remember to breathe. Okay, a couple more times. Just doing something a little different in the body. Next time you come back to this wide stance Tadasana, rest there for a second, take a breath, and then take the feet a little bit wider. Arms out. Good. We're going to lift, bend through the right knee and lift the right heel as we reach over to the left. Come back. Bend through, sorry, I had that backwards. Bend through the direction you're going. You're going to bend through that knee and lift that heel as you reach over. And straighten that leg, come back to center. Bend through the knee, lift that heel in the direction that you're reaching, which is across your midline. Back to center. Now you could keep this up at the chest level, or you could take it a little deeper. So as I bend through this knee, I'm going to come down, reach over, come down, kind of like an ice skating or a speed skater kind of motion. If you want to go way down, start to go a little bit closer to the floor. Make sure you're bending through the direction you're going. You're going to bend that knee, and you might have to lift the heel of the straight leg, especially as you get a little deeper. Once you've kind of done an even number on both sides, land somewhere in the middle and take that fold again. And then from here, you're going to heel toe your feet a little closer, maybe a little bit wider than hips distance. Drop your hips, come into a squat, and either, if you need a block underneath your sit bones, that's fine. Squeezing legs into elbows into pushing into the knees. Great. Now from here, you'll set your hands behind you and walk your feet forward. Take your feet together in Baddha Konasana. If you were sitting on a block, you just remove the block, obviously. If your knees want to be sailing high, just set some blocks underneath them. Pull your pelvic floor up, navel in, low back in towards midline. Nice long spine. Take your ears a little back over your shoulders, get that little double chin. Really lengthening through your spine. Then we'll take the legs out in front. hands behind. So you keep the arch in the back in this Dandasana. Good. Now, bending or sliding, bending your knees, come down to the floor, tuck knees into the chest. Asana. Now we'll come to the Supta Padangusthasana. So let's take the right leg long, the left leg up. If you have a block to rest your leg on, that's fine, or a strap across the ball of your foot, but we'll open that leg out to the side. You could also just rest the leg on your hand. If this feels too much, bend the opposite leg. But this is the same shape as Ardha Chandrasana. The toes back towards shins. Engage your core, engage your pelvic floor. Right, bring that left leg back up towards the ceiling and bring the right leg up to meet it. Supta Dandasana. Then we'll go in the other direction. So right leg comes out to the side. Left leg is either bent on the floor or long. You can rest your right leg on a block or use a strap. But we really want the left hip really to stay put. So we're not rolling onto the right side. Again, so this is the same shape as Ardha Chandrasana, just on the floor. You can feel all the lines when you're on the floor. What's the back line doing? What's required to really hold that in space when you're just standing on one foot. Inhale, right leg back up. Bring the left leg to meet it, Supta Dandasana. And you find a little bit of arch in your back here. And even with that little bit of arch in the back, can you find the containment of the pelvic floor and a little engagement in your core, navel up and in, even hip pointers towards one another. Then bending through your knees, bring your knees back into your chest, Apanasana. Crossing at your ankles now, just a little bit of movement side to side. We're going to work our way into a twist. So the twist could just be knees over in one direction, open up opposite arm, bring hand to top of the thigh or the waist. This could be your twist. Top leg could come long, come straight. And if you want something a little deeper, you could take Gomukhasana legs, bring knees over to the side. This is a much deeper twist with this bottom leg pinning the top leg, right? So if this is too much, just slide back to the knees stacked. When you find yourself in the twist, can you lift and try to pull the bottom ribs away from the floor slightly and turn the top ribs down towards the floor? So have this be, having the twist be more engaged with muscular action than just the fact that we have our knees or legs over to one side. So there's a total passivity there. And sometimes that's where we end up hurting ourselves, right? And then we'll inhale the top leg up, come back to center and come back to knees into the chest. So get your pelvis nice and square again. You might even just do a couple of rolls with the knees back and forth. And then just really gently approaching the other side. So just a little movement back and forth, up and asana, before you take your knees to the other side. So knees could be stacked, or I'm going to the right now. If you're going to the right, you could try right leg on top of left leg in Gomukhasana legs, and then the twist. But if that's too much, just stack the knees. And again, see if you can draw the side of your ribs that's closest to the floor. In my case, with knees to the right, it's my right ribs. Lift those ribs away from the floor and see if you can spin your left rib basket towards the floor. Gaze is straight up or over in the opposite direction. Engage your core and pull the pelvic floor up and in. Inhale, top leg comes up. Once again, bring the knees together and press low back into the floor, squeeze knees into chest, maybe a few circles with your knees in both directions. A little bit of back and forth movement, kidney space to kidney space. And then if there's anything else that you need to wiggle around in before Shavasana, do that. Stretching out. You could take Viparati Karini, legs up the wall, finding hips against the wall, and then slipping yourself around so that your legs are up the wall. Quite nice after the work we did in legs. You could have something underneath your hips, a blanket or a block to lift the hips up slightly, or you could just rest in with the legs up the wall, just like this. If traditional Shavasana meets your needs better, then do that. And then just let everything really go, let everything relax. Let your bones be heavy. Just find the gratitude for your effort. Knowing that you're in it for the long game. It's not a short game, it's a long game. When you're ready, you can begin to wiggle fingers and toes. Find some slight movement in your body. You could stay on the floor in Shavasana for as long as you like. Come back up to a seat if you are ready. That's your desire. We'll bring hands to heart center no matter where we are. Gratitude for this body we get to play in and experience life, this matter. And may our efforts really bless not just us, but all those around us. Namaste.